Alright guys, so now we're going to add the footer real quick. I'm going to grab the format from Materialize CSS. If we go to Components, Footer, rather than typing it out, I'm going to grab this. And we'll go and paste that in. Let's see, we'll put it right under this section. Alright, now if I save that and we take a look, it has basically no color to it. What I'm going to do is go to the main.scss and let's add for the page footer, let's set the background color to the secondary color. Remember we made it a dark gray, so we'll say secondary color. And then the footer copyright, which is we can nest in here because we're using Sass, so we can say footer dash copyright. We're going to set that background to the secondary color light, which is the variable that we created. Okay, we created it in the Materialize variables file. So let's save that, and there we go. So there's our footer. You can see the colors have changed. I'm just going to change, let's see, let's go to our index. Let's change these links. So this will be abstract and what was the other ones? Logos and gaming. And we'll get rid of this last one here. Okay, and then instead of footer content, we'll just say about me. Alright, and we'll change that copyright text. We'll say 2018 and Gallop here. And we'll leave that, that's fine. Alright, so there's the footer. Now let's do the modals, okay? So first let's initialize our modals down here. Let's put a comment here and say init side nav. And then we'll say init modal, and we do that by taking class modal and calling dot modal. So if we look at the first one, the first row here, the first whatever gallery image, and we look at the link, it goes to abstract 1. It also has a modal trigger class, so that's all set. Now we just need to create the modal. So we're going to go down to the bottom, right below the footer, and let's say modal 1, and we're going to give this an ID of abstract 1 and a class of modal. Okay, and then we'll do our modal content. Inside here, let's put an H4. We'll put the title, which is Dilligord, and then our image with the class of responsive-img. And this is going to be the image slash gallery slash abstract1.jpg. And then under that, we're going to put some text. I'm going to say lorem 20 tab. Okay, and then under this div, we're going to have our modal footer, which is going to have our star ratings. So I'm going to copy this paragraph with all the stars. And we'll put that right here. Okay, so let's copy that, and then if we click on this, it opens the modal. Now notice that the text is white, we can't see it. So I'm just going to give the modal a static color. So let's say class modal, and we'll say color 333. And you guys can experiment if you want. If you want to create a variable for it, whatever you want to do is fine. There we go. So that's our modal. Now let's do the other two. So they're going to be formatted the same way. They're just going to have different content. So I'll copy that. So this will be modal 2. It'll be abstract 2. We'll change the image. We'll change the title to Alaressa. And let's see, I think we can do half stars as well. Let me check something here. Yeah, star half. So icon font is star_half. So let's actually make it a little more realistic, and we'll take the second one and let's do star_half right here. Okay, and then we'll go down to the modal. So modal 2 we'll do star half. Let's save that. And there we go, you can see it as a half a star. Open up the modal, good. Now what we'll do is copy modal 1, and we'll do the third one. Abstract 3, abstract 3. And let's see, we want to change the title to recogged. So now these two should work. So that one and that one. Good. So now what we're going to do is the ScrollFire, which is actually pretty easy to do. What we'll do is go down to the JavaScript, and let's say ScrollFire. So we need to create our options, which is going to be an array of objects with a selector. Now remember, we have selectors, we have row 1, 2, and 3, so we want to select row 1, and then the offset is going to be 50. Okay, 50 from the top, and then that takes a callback. Let me just make this wider. Let's see, so offset 50, callback function, and this takes in an element, and then we just want to fade it in, so we can say materialize dot fade in image, and we can pass in here EL like that. Alright, so the first one is basically always going to be displayed because it's at the top, but the other two we don't want displayed unless we're at a certain point, okay? Which I believe we want this one at 300 offset and this one at 400. I think that's what I had working. So we'll copy this. Oops, we'll copy that and put a comma here. Paste that in, and we'll say row 2 will have an offset of 300. That's when we want it to fade in. And then the next one, row 3, will have an offset of 400. Okay, and then we want to go under the options array, whoops, and we want to call materialize dot ScrollFire and pass in our options. So let's save that. Alright, so let's see, they do appear. Even the first one is going to fade in, but the second one, what am I missing here? Did I not change the row? Let's see, row 3, row 2. Oh, you know what? The reason for that is because we actually need to set the opacity to 0 to begin with. So in our main CSS, SCSS, we're going to say row 1, row 2, and row 3. We're going to set the opacity to 0 to begin with because we're fading them in. So let's save and then reload. Okay, so we're already at offset 50, right, which is the first one. We're already at this, so it fades in. Now the other two, the opacity is set to 0, but when we hit 300, row 2 should then fade in. Okay, when we hit 400, row 3 should fade in. Good. So that's working out good. Awesome. So that's all set. And let's check out the responsiveness, make sure that looks good. And that still should work even if it's responsive. So even if you were on a mobile device, that would work. Alright, so we're getting there. The last thing we really need to do is just the other two pages, which are pretty much identical, just different content. Alright, so that's what we'll do in the next video.